Good evening, everybody. We will start the Public Safety Committee meeting. Today is Tuesday, March 23rd, and it is 6:36 p.m. If I can please have a moment of silent meditation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Madam Clerk, may I please have roll call?
Roll call, Chairperson Cubillos.
Here.
Vice Chair Nickerson.
Here.
Member Roman.
Here.
Also present for the record, Janice Jacoby, Village Clerk, Christy Alou, Village Manager, Interim Village Attorney, Norman Powell, and Chief Magnuson.
At this time, can I get a motion for approval of the agenda as is, or are there any additions or deletions?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda, Madam Mayor.
A motion's been made by Vice Mayor Nickerson. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Second by Councilperson Roman. Any nays? Hearing none, all in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Hearing none, the agenda for tonight's meeting does pass. Have you all had the opportunity to review the minutes for the January 7th Public Safety Committee meeting? And if so, do I have a motion for approval of the minutes of January 7th?
I'll motion to approve the minutes for January 7th.
The
Madam.
motion's been made by Vice Mayor Nickerson. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
The minutes for the January 7th Public Safety Committee meeting have passed, and they'll be posted on the website. At this time, anybody good and welfare would like to come up and address your name and address for the record? All righty, hearing none, we're going to go right into the agenda items. I'm going to ask the police chief to please come up and give us a department update, and then we'll briefly go through the track and report.
Good evening.
Good evening, chief.
All right, there's a number of things I want to report to in this meeting. I'll go down the list, and then whatever questions you all have for me, by all means. A couple months ago, we were fortunate enough to get the piece of equipment that measures speed, measures cars, both equally important, wherever we put it. It's removable, and we started doing our initial assessments on 87th Street. During the breakdown, we were able to see how many cars go in each direction, what the peak speeds were. Now on 87th, we didn't find a major speeding problem on 87th Street thus far with the studies we've done. There's been a couple peak speeds in both directions. The highest one was 46 miles an hour, which is fast. But we saw there was a certain percentage of cars going over the speed limit, but they were measuring from 30. So when we upped it and changed it to 35 miles an hour, let's give a 5 mile an hour leeway and see where the speeding took place, it dropped significantly, which tells us that on our original study, the vast amount of people that were dubbed as speeders were falling within that 5 mile an hour range, and we're not going to write anybody for 34, from 30 to 34 in a 30 mile an hour zone. But we were pretty happy with that, with the analysis done, as well as the cars, almost as important, where the peak times were, where we're getting the most cars, and it was pretty consistent, especially westbound. Now, on one of the cases when we had the machine out, and we take it down each time, we don't leave it there for obvious reasons, there was one car that did peak out on a certain day at 42, 43 miles an hour. That was a police car en route to an emergency call at the time. I mean, I'm not certain, but at that time is when we had to go, and we had to step on it. Obviously, we have to slow down at the light. I don't believe we had well, I can't say we had the green or not, but that's when we're having an emergency call. So it doesn't differentiate between civilian car, police car, in the westbound traffic. Eastbound, fortunately, we don't have to fly that quickly on calls. They usually go out west from here. Now, in addition to that, I heard some of the concerns in the past about speeders, where they are and what they're doing. And so I went back. I know we had the discussion. I went back and looked at our tickets over the last few years, and we write a robust amount of tickets, but there was 10 speeding tickets per se, 10 for speeders in 18 and 13 in 2019. Now, there were other tickets written that you can say if speed's too safe or reckless, what have you, but specifically for speeding, you had what I said was the 13 last year. This year already, we've already written 10 speeding tickets, and the majority of them are Northeast 2 Avenue. We do have 2 that were on 87th Street as well. That's the hub. 80 Northeast 2 Avenue for sure is the main speeding drag, what we're catching on to. So we wrote the tickets. I was asked earlier too, what was the breakdown on the speeding tickets for the residents? None of them were residents thus far, but none of the speeders were non-residents. I'm guessing traversing down Northeast 2 to get past 79th Street or go up the other way towards 95th. So we are working on that. We are going to move the speeder around. We're looking now at once we get this done and finish with 87th, we're going to head over to Northwest 3 around the school and check that out for the speeders there and see what we can come up with. The Peacock Express article that I wrote addresses this in more detail for the citizens, the residents, to take a look at how we did it, what we did, and more specific numbers. Also dealing with driving, I shift over to Northwest 5th Avenue and 90th Street, where we got numerous calls, not so much about speeders, but reckless drivers. The donuts that extended into the county, too, on 5th Avenue, not just on 90th Street, but 91st, 92nd. You could see them all the way up there because they don't fade out that quickly. We've written a few well-placed tickets. We've also had a few well-placed arrests. And we shared the info with the county for assistance out of our jurisdiction so they can come on by there and unmark cars or what have you, just to let them be known that they're out there. We haven't had, knock wood, any complaints recently, which is good because we also reached out to members in Miami Shores and talked to them. Some of them let us do surveillances from their yard just to take a look at what we saw, and we did. We went over and we dealt with it. So that's a work in progress. We continue along with that, but that has been addressed. It's continuing to be addressed, the reckless drivers up there. I think maybe they get the idea. If we have to tow another car or two and write tickets or take somebody to jail for reckless or suspend a DL, we'll do that too. But they're getting the point, I think, and I hope. Another thing to report was a sort of a fraudulent activity at the cottages about 2 weeks ago. The gentleman there that runs it, he was basically bamboozled back in September by a fraudulent purchase of space there while they stayed there, and then it turned out that the card wasn't the person, and the real person didn't want to pay the charges, and he got left holding the bag. Well, lo and behold, this same guy came back and wanted to do it again. So over the course of a weekend, we put everybody on notice. We passed down the information from person to person, starting with Officer Battaglia, Officer Riverone at night, and then Officer Lopez starting Monday. And it was under Lopez's watch where, lo and behold, they were able to reach out to this person because he was staying there at night and then working during the day downtown, some event. We were able to get half the money back for the owner. And the owner was good with that until Officer Lopez basically said, no, you're going to get all your money back. So the guy went, got a hold of his father, who wired him the rest of the money. End of story. The owner didn't want to press charges now, fine, but he got all his money back, going back from September. So he was very happy, we were very happy, and this guy's not coming back anywhere to El Portel anymore. I passed the info out in one of the intel meetings with the county, because my thoughts are, and to the other agencies that are there, that this guy will come back down to South Florida. He'll probably stay somewhere else and pull the same nonsense, foolishness with them. So they got this guy's picture and where he's from and everything to do. So we passed that information on. During the past couple of months, too, Officer Battaglia is now officially our senior coordinator. The officers do make contact with the seniors, but he's overseeing that portion. If there's any issues or anything he can follow up on, and that's what he's been doing with that. So he's officially the coordinator. The property room is still a work in progress. Officer Owen is still working on that. But as per the McGrath report and following up on things that were suggested also by FDLE, we did purchase a safe for any sort of expensive equipment that may come in and need to be put away properly, and a small icebox, well, I call icebox, a refrigerator, in case we come across any DNA that has to, before we transport it to the county. Obviously, we want to keep it freshly stored so there's no issues with any sort of defense motions or anything. So we have that in place. So we're coming along well with that. Let me see. Met with the U.S. Attorney a couple weeks ago. It was a meet and greet with all the chiefs and state and local authorities and federal authorities in this area. I also was at the swearing in for the new Miami-Dade Director Freddie Ramirez, who was there a couple weeks ago. And I had a meeting with school officials, principals at Horace Mann on the 24th, and from the district, got to go over a number of items. It was a very good meeting. I know Mr. Lawrence was very happy. He was very happy I was there, and it was a pleasure to be there, an honor to be there. I got a hold of Mr. Lawrence, too. He is going to get me the ESAC dates. I told him I want to be the one that is the go-to person for that, so he will get in touch with me with that. Sergeant Burrell is in supervision class for the next 2 weeks. And that's a good class for him. Officer Riveron is in the hospital recovering from an accident the other day where the dog attacked him, off duty. He'll be coming around, as soon as I get any updates, I'll be happy to share them with all of you. And evaluations, they have been completed. They have been done on all personnel. I know half a year ago, I did self-evaluations on the full-timers. Next year coming around, I'm going to do it on everybody, including the part-time non-compensatory officers that we have that make up the entire department. But everybody in the department now has the evaluations done, and we're good for now for until the end of this year when we will do it again. The only other issue that I see standing out is a car-related fleet issue that we're working to improve on. The 2017s are good. Some of the other cars are not quite as good, and we're just doing a juggling act now to get them all up to speed. We removed the decoy vehicles that do run, bring them back here now as pool cars as we need them. And as fortunately, the issues that we would need decoy cars for, by and large, with thefts or burglaries, that hasn't been a problem. February was a very, very slow month. So it worked out fine that we couldn't use the decoy. If we have to bring out a car, and this is why I'm hesitant to do it, we're going to have to tow it out there and leave it. And that comes with a cost. Now, if it keeps a crime down, obviously we'll do it. We're just not going to be able to move it right there till we stabilize this fleet. Once we can free up one car that works, we'll put it back out in the decoy pool. And that's basically my report in a nutshell right now, but I'll be happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you, Chief. I have a couple of questions. The reviews, what date were they done? What month?
The reviews, they were done in, the evaluations? January, to cover the full fiscal year. I'm sorry, the full year, January to December, yes.
So they were done January 2020?
Yes.
Another question. The senior watch, I sent you all the list, and I know unfortunately there's a few that have passed, and I've asked that when it's updated, if I can get a copy. Can I get a copy of that?
Officer Bataglia.
Because there's a few seniors that have passed. I'd like an updated copy of the senior list.
We'll get that done. We'll get it up to date on it.
So the speed tracker that was recommended by Councilperson Roman, that's on 87th Street, is movable.
Yeah, we
Okay,
take
perfect.
it down, yeah.
Okay, perfect. But when I drive by there, I don't see my speed.
A couple of times we did it, what we called it, in the dark.
Okay.
We wanted to get a genuine speed
Okay.
of what people are doing. Once you put that thing on, then they're slowing down. We want to see where the problem lies.
Okay.
And so we did it both ways. And there really wasn't that much of a difference. The only difference came when we moved up the speed limit to 35 to give that little leeway to see really how many people are speeding. The 5 mile an hour window, I think, was sufficient.
Okay. And I also wanted to be clear, because it could be taken the wrong way. So Officer Verone was not working in off-duty. He was just off-duty.
Off-duty, right,
Okay, so when you said
correct.
off-duty, he wasn't working in off-duty and got injured.
he was home.
at home. Okay, I
Correct.
want to just put that for the record. Okay.
Thank you.
And then the other thing is, What's left in the forfeiture funds in terms of dollars?
I'd have to get I'm not sure right now. I'd have to get, it would be the same balance after we did it. I don't have that figure. I can get that to you.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to know how much was left in there. And then, Operation Village-wide Cleanup. I received an article from Councilperson Roman, and she's recommending to do, we've done it annually, generally in April, and we didn't do it last year. Her recommendation, and I just wanted to see the availability, because usually it's done in conjunction with the police department. This year, Arbor Day's 50th anniversary, and I believe the date is April
24th.
13th, is the date you recommended? I don't remember.
Oh.
So this year is the 50th anniversary for Earth Day. And Earth Day falls on April 22nd. That's the official Earth Day. What I'd like to propose is something for us to celebrate it and do a cleanup or something of sort, Saturday, April 18th, from 8 to 10.
Again, last year was the first year that we didn't do it in April. We didn't do it at all. It used to be done in October, and then I moved it up to April. We just didn't do it last year. So just check your calendar if you can let us know, because the newsletter articles will go out probably by like Friday or Monday. And I'm okay with that date. I just want to make sure that you and the manager and your department will be working with us, because how it works is we do it in conjunction with Horace Mann.
April
18th is a
8 to
Saturday.
10? We'll make it work.
Okay.
It won't be a problem.
Okay.
And then, is it 8 o'clock that we start? I can't remember.
Like 7,
7?
7:30, yeah, because although it's not really hot, starts getting
Yeah.
warm. So like 7.
Then we have the Arbor Day the following Saturday.
April's a busy
Okay,
month.
that's fine.
Let's see, what else did I have in here? Okay. Disaster and emergency preparedness plan. I'd like to have, a couple of years ago, after Irma, we had a town hall, just to kind of like brush up, remind everybody that the season's right around the corner, tips as far as things they could start, looking into or saving or collecting. So I'd like to prepare some kind of a town hall, whether it's probably May. Hurricane season starts literally right around the corner after that. So I thought it'd be a good time to put something together. We had one last May or June, I believe.
That's right.
Okay.
If I may, Mayor, too, we have even enhanced the emergency preparedness guide even more so. Chief Magnuson was working on it with some suggestions from our consultant
Okay.
to enhance the
Okay.
plan as well. So that'll be ready for
And
rollout.
not only an external meeting with the residents, but an internal meeting to have a run through of it, okay?
Absolutely.
So if we can plan that for May would be great. Let's see. No. Community policing, anything in particular that they're doing differently on foot or anything like that, or is it, have we,
They're still with the park and walks,
Okay.
they log that down each time.
okay. Let's see. I'll ask the committee if they have anything else that they want from the tracking report, because pretty much covered most of that. FDL inspections, you didn't bring it up, but I know we've been following in compliance. I think Sergeant Burrell is working on that with you. Traffic calming, the rotunda, that's in legislative, so we'll see if we get any money there. So what I wanted to briefly touch is two things. So you mentioned the fleet, and today the manager and I had a meeting, and then thereafter we sat down and we sort of went over a few things, and we talked about the fleet a little bit. I asked her to get that final number. So if Enterprise is willing to come in and give us dollars for whatever vehicles we have here, whether it's 5, 4, 3, 7, or 10, they're each going to be valued differently, what they would give us. So if we can get a breakdown of what they would give us for each vehicle, what the cost would be that we'd have to put down per vehicle, how many vehicles we actually need as opposed to what we can actually probably afford this year for this budget or for the next one, and then what the annual lease fee would be. I think if we have that number, we can have more of a conversation with regards to how realistic is it that we can get the police cars, because it's not just police cars, it's code enforcement and it's public works. So if we're going into an agreement with Enterprise, which they work with all of the cities of Miami-Dade County, they do a great service as far as the lease program, because it includes, it's a 3-year lease, and it's all the maintenance and tires and all of that. And I also need to know if the fee includes the striping or not. Does it come prepared in the inside and all of that good stuff? So if you can get that for the committee, or even in an email and let us know, I'd like to know what that actual cost, raw cost is gonna be, factoring in the vehicles that we're like to sell to them and they're willing to buy. Okay?
Very good.
And then, so, you know, as much as I don't entertain social media, I have some amazing neighbors that love to send me whatever comes out. As I'm a believer that if there is an issue that the resident has, they should call a council member, they should call the mayor, they should call the chief, they should call the manager, they should call the clerk, they should call the attorney, they should call someone. But again, I have a resident who loves to send me everything, so, and I shared it with both of you. And the recent Nextdoor post that came up was the traffic that we see on 87th Street, that's one. The speeding, which I think is going to always be an issue, because unfortunately, as we can't be everywhere, and I get that. But the one that I want to talk a little bit about is that they don't see the police officers around and they don't drive around. So I guess my question to you is, how is that managed? How is it not managed? What does that look like as far as what I think I shared with both of you? And again, I'm a believer of not entertaining what comes out on social media, but I'd just like to hear from your perspective so that they can hear what we have, or what is your perspective as far as the police officers driving around or not driving around, and did they really do it a year ago and now they're not doing it? Is it because the cars don't have GPSs now? They used to. So I mean, there's just variables that I would just like to hear about.
I think there's less officers, you know, when you combined, you had a pretty large, robust reserve unit. But I also, you know, we just brought on Otero now, he's in training. The officers are patrolling. And they're also for a while stopping and walking around the parking lots, which means the car is not being seen. And I can tell you also, I go up and down blocks and people would swear, no, I don't. It's because my car's not marked. I mean, if I see them, I wave, but I go down and make sure everything's right. I'll follow people if it looks like maybe it could be up to no good, you know, just keep an eye out from afar, not to stop them or anything. But the officers do that too. And they get reports to write, so they'll pull off somewhere and write the reports. But there's no doubt in my mind, they're patrolling, they're up and down blocks. I think that's just a matter, sadly, that keyboard commandos that take to the computers and launch attacks rather than come to me and let me debate back and forth with you. You may very well be right, you may very well be wrong. But when you just throw it out there to the universe, you know, then you get a bunch of other people that jump on it, and that happens to be the gospel. I don't subscribe to that. I'm very accessible. I will give updates. Just had a gentleman the other day gave updates back and forth on the traffic. And I think that's the way to do. I can't always give you the answer you want, but I do promise you'll get a response from me. And if something needs to get addressed, it'll be addressed. Nonetheless, the officers are out there patrolling, and I think they're doing a good job of doing so. And I'll say this in the sense that up and down the blocks, this isn't scientific, but Miami Shores last month and parts of the county, which is right up against the shores on the east side of the boulevard, they were getting a lot of car break-ins. Well, we had a couple in January, and we made a big arrest. Officer Battaglia was part of it when we got a hold of the county undercover auto theft task force and all. It seemed to stop, but the officers being up and down blocks, being there, the night officers, especially after the sun goes down, being up there with the lights off, going up, checking around, word gets out. And if we do have a problem, listen, there's going to be times we're going to have crime trends. It's how fast we jump on it, and the officers do a very good job. And if I didn't think they did, I would address it. They're up and down the blocks, and you know, they're getting the job done. I see the reports. It was a slow month last year as well, and I for crime, and I'm not complaining about it. They're out there. They're all over, up and down the avenues, the streets on the west side, here on the east. they do it. And I know I ride through Sherwood constantly. So I would say that somebody may be a little mistaken or you know, just running with some information that isn't really factual.
Yeah, no, and I will say, I live on the west side, and I'm actually gonna ask the committee to chime in a little bit, because we all live on different streets. I mean, I can't say on the west side, I see them regularly. And I always love seeing them regularly, whether I see the lights drive by my house, or I just see them generally around. And I've been walking a lot lately, so I mean, I see them just about everywhere. So, but again, I wanted to bring that out there, because I think more importantly, so you let them know that if there really is a concern, to just let you, call you or the manager. And just, you know, so that you can actually address it if it is an issue. If it's not, then hopefully you'll be able to, you know, satisfy them by the answer that you would give them. So I'm going to ask the committee what their input, because I know everybody here lives in different blocks. And then if there's something that we did not cover from the tracking report that you'd like the chief or the manager to give you an update on.
May I go?
Yes.
So regarding the driving around, I do see the police officers, especially at night, I see the lights come into the house. Once a month, as part of the Home of the Month committee, I drive around the entire village. And last month, or not last month, I didn't do it last month. The last time I did it, I can't remember when it was. It was maybe last month or the month before. It took a while before I drove literally every single block of the village, and it took a while before I saw the officer, but when I went to the schedule, there was only one officer on duty, which then that makes sense. And eventually I did run into the police officer. And so that could possibly be where the concerns come in. You know, when we only have one officer on duty, it's impossible for that person to be all over the place. So that's that. I have a question that's not related to that, but if Nickerson wants to go and speak to that first.
It's up to the mayor.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so you guys know I live on off Northeast 2nd, right on 89th Street in the cottages. So I see them all the time. You guys know I walk at nighttime. So I'm always up and out at nighttime, and like I see them all the time over there. So it's on a pretty consistent basis.
Yeah, that's the feeling I'm getting. They're not going to hit every block. It's just not going to happen. But I've also told them, you know, listen, you can't hit every block, but keep an ear and eye out for the blocks you don't hit. Next time, just go down the blocks. It's good to be seen. And I know what they're doing with the lights, too. That's so people see them, because if they just drive by, I didn't see an officer. Right. Now they understand, because at the first I was getting a couple calls. If something happened, no, we're just letting you know we're here. You know, so.
No, I personally like the lights at nighttime, so I think. I have, the other question that I have, and it's just something that was triggered once you were talking about, the arrest and such. In the past, and I'm talking about maybe last year or before your time, we were told that our police were not able to do fingerprints if there was a break-in. Is that still the case?
They do fingerprints.
They do fingerprints.
They process scenes, yeah.
Okay, that was just something we didn't do before.
If it's something really major, we'll have the county come out. If it's a really major crime, I'll put a call in for the county. But otherwise, they're well versed on doing fingerprints and lifting prints. We've gotten some results back, not recently, but a couple months ago. We've gotten some results back on fingerprints that we submit.
That's great to hear. Okay.
So, no, they're doing it. And we also offer that if somebody didn't know how to do it well, we can also send them to the training, but they all seem to know how to do it. And the only caveat, like I said, if it's a major crime, the county's gonna come in anyway.
Right.
But if it's something that we think, Lord forbid, a shooting type of scene, nobody hit, but let's just say, and I'm just putting it out there, we would have the county come in and do fingerprints off the casings and stuff like that. I would feel more comfortable on that, because you have ID techs that's all they do.
Is there a specific time that is done, or is it for any burglary, or is it?
If there's a scene conducive for prints, yeah. I mean, if we have a lifted window or something, we'll print. Or if there was a jewelry box turned over, well, you know they have to touch it. They probably had gloves on, but yeah, you would dust for prints and things like that. If it was a bicycle, let's say, sitting in the curtilage that they took, no, probably not, because we don't know what they touch, and it's outside exterior anyway, that would be a little bit more difficult.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
You're welcome.
Vice Mayor Nickerson, anything else on the tracking report?
Yeah, one little thing, Mayor. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to say, first of all, I just want to say thank you for everything that you've been doing with the police force. As far as the McGrath report goes, I know it's an ongoing thing. We're continuously working on it. I just wanted to know, kind of like, what's the next thing we're going to be working on? Or like, is there anything major, like from the McGrath report that we have to work on, like the next big thing we have to kind of focus on? And if so, is there anything that you need, any help or assistance that you need from the committee or anything like that?
Everything with the McGrath report, the property room's still a work in progress. It's getting there. We've done all the other things on the little subsections under to fix it up with the safe, with the refrigerator. Mostly everything is done, or it's just been almost completed. The training was done, the FDLE stuff was done. It's all up to speed. There's always room for improvement, and I still go through it with a fine-tooth comb. There's a couple things we need to do. We just completed the UCR today. That was due for the end of 19, so that's done. It was in on time with FDLE. We worked on that and got all the numbers there that they wanted, so that's done. There's nothing really major left. The 3s and 2s were done. I mean, a couple of the 2s they were talking about were scheduling things. I think I got a handle on that. So there was nothing I felt at this point that needed to be adjusted. Those were just suggestions. But the real high-ticket items, they were taken care of right off the bat. FDLE training, I just did 2 officers that were coming due in June 30th, keeping up the certification. I know it was an issue. I don't want to wait till May. We knocked Lusant and Payne out. Got that part of that 8-hour deadly force class. We knocked that out. And the other 3 that were due in June, they're already been knocked out with that. So now there's just the classes they have to take, but that important part, which is probably the most important part aside from the qualification that we did last year, so we're good for this year, is the deadly force class. So that's been taken care of. Thank you. Thank you.
Now, with the traffic that we have on 87th Street, it's deriving from the construction on 79th Street. What can, and I know I think you or Lieutenant Mendez reached out to them, I don't remember right now. But one of the things that we did a year ago with the manager, I think might have been before you got here, or maybe right when you got here, is I requested a meeting with all of the surrounding agencies, so that we have that report, so that we work together. And I think from there, you all go to Intel meetings, which is great. But what can we do to ensure that they communicate when there are things that are going to happen in our surrounding area that's going to impact us? So while it's great that we were reactive because we didn't expect this, but there needs to be a meeting or a conversation so that this doesn't happen again, because it's going to happen if it happens, but it's much better if we just let everybody know. That way, like you all did, the minute we all woke up and this was going on, you or Lieutenant Mendez got an email and a call, and then this morning it was handled much better. And while it's still going to cause traffic, it's just manageable. And it's safer. And there's 3 accidents in front of my school yesterday, literally 3 accidents in front of my school. Because no one expected this, most people are used to just flying by 87th in the morning, or it being relatively, of low impact and low volume. They didn't expect to, have 50 cars in the street that were not moving. So is there an opportunity to really have a meeting with them, whether it's the Brightline, whether it's FEC, whether it's FDOT, just to let them know that, hey, we're not City Miami. You may have notified City Miami. We're not City Miami. We're not Miami Shores. We're El Portal, and you're going to impact 87th Street, which as many people may not like that it's called, but people use it as a thoroughfare, although I don't agree with it. But as a result of that, because if it comes off at Biscayne Boulevard, it's a main artery in our little town, we got to have dialogue.
No, I agree. I mean, the company that did it, they basically said, over on 79th, they didn't think it was going to impact, and they're probably right. They didn't think it was going to impact. I can put out something and get with the city. Anything that happens on 79th Street or points north of that, we need to know about it. The Shores do the same thing. Anything around there, let us know, or anything up on the boulevard, let us know. The railroads, they're still gonna ride on through. I mean, we had 13 trains this morning during the rush hour time. 2 or 3 of them were freight trains. That only added to it. There was just a large amount of trains today, for whatever reason.
But the bright lines are fast. I
Yeah.
mean, it's, and usual or, you know, things that are just sort of routine is fine, but it's more of they're gonna work on the railroad tracks and they
yeah.
decide to do it at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's probably not the brightest thing, but if they're going to do that, you know, it might be a really good idea to let us know.
Yeah, I can make some contacts and just official contacts and say, listen, this is what we need to do to avoid this in the future. To be fair, the company and FDOT were very helpful once we got word. They would have been just as helpful had we known about it, and we came up with a plan a couple days earlier.
Yeah.
Granted. But
And then, you know, with something like that, you all can put it on social media.
Correct.
The clerk can email blast it to the residents and then it just sort of mitigates.
yeah, no, that's what I'll
Frustration.
take care of that, and we'll just say, moving forward, please let us know, and we'll make the proper contacts so we can set up for any traffic woes that are gonna come. Fortunately, Channel 10 today was saying, take 71st Street as a cut across, so that helped out. The early warner helped out quite a bit, you know, basically saying, you know, maybe you wanna get off on 95th Street, that helped out. And again, having the PSAs with the traffic, because that to me was the biggest issue, with the light taking so long on the boulevard and 87. Make that light a little longer, you can get a lot more cars coming out. So that worked out great, and they were helpful. But yeah, moving forward, that's what we'll do.
Do we have enough safety vests for all of the police officers?
I believe we do.
You know, like I guess the fluorescent
Yes.
orange or yellow, okay,
They're supposed to have them, I believe they have them, yes.
okay. If they don't, maybe we
We'll
need
get
to
'em.
get one, yeah. Because I might have, I walked home from the gym this morning and I might have seen a police officer without a safety vest and I asked if they had a safety vest. One of them had and one didn't, so they all should have it,
Okay?
because you know, if they're gonna be out there. That's it from me. Is there anything from the manager or from the committee? Anything else we need to know?
Yes, I'll make mention of the fact that I know that some of the council members have seen that they now have a badge, an ID, as an effort to increase our standing with FDLE. We are wearing the ID badges when we're in the offices. So when you come visit, please bring your ID badge. Thank you.
Chief,
That's it.
happy birthday.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed your birthday
I
yesterday.
did, thank you, thank you.
Anything else from the committee?
Thank you.
From the attorney? All righty, hearing none. Good and welfare. Time to state your name and address for the record, please. Either one. They're both on, right?
Hi, Jay Ribeiro, 225 Northeast 86th Street. Chief, I'm the guilty one writing you the emails.
I
Regarding
know
the
you are.
traffic,
Yes, yes.
thank you very much for your professionalism in activating the force and activating the traffic light here on 87th Avenue.
Thank you.
Too bad we didn't know that the work that started on Friday, nobody notified any of us, but during the weekend, we had a big mess. Security was an issue. I waited until Monday to write you the email. So, thank you again.
You're welcome, thank you.
Yeah, started on the weekend. Anybody else from the audience? State your name and address for the record. All righty, hearing none. Committee? You're all good? Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
A motion to adjourn.
The Public Safety Committee meeting on Tuesday, March 3rd adjourns at 7:15 PM. Thank you.
Thank you.